When you're doing something as ambitious as introducing a whole new series of modular smartphone hardware, it's easy to get hung up on that one aspect of the user experience. And that's exactly what makes the new Moto Z Droid and Moto Z Force Droid for Verizon so interesting. Lenovo's managed to not just deliver a series of modular hardware that feels robust, useful, and, well, let's be honest, a lot of fun, but it's given us two really well-equipped flagships that would stand very well on their own, even without this whole modular hardware business. I'm Stephen Shank with PhoneArena, bringing you a look at how the Moto Z Droid, Moto Z Force Droid, and the whole family of Moto Mods accessories come together to give us what just might be one of the most compelling smartphone experiences so far this year. The Moto Z Droid and Moto Z Force Droid each give you a 5.5-inch Quad HD AMOLED display, Snapdragon 820 processor, and 4 gigs of RAM. Storage starts at 32 GB with the option for microSD expansion. The Moto Z Droid offers a 13-megapixel main camera with optical stabilization and laser-assisted autofocus, and a 5-megapixel wide-angle front-facer with its own flash. But what makes the phone really special, its support for Moto Mods accessories aside, is its spectacular thinness, measuring under 5.2mm thick. That's critical to Lenovo's modular ecosystem, as attaching any accessory is going to add to phone thickness, making starting thin all the more important. And despite that thin build, there's still room for a 2600 mAh battery, giving the phone about 6 hours of steady usage in our tests. The Moto Z Force Droid makes a few upgrades on top of the Moto Z Droid, but at the expense of thickness. It jumps up to a 21-megapixel camera with extra phase detection autofocus, and implements the same kind of shatterproof display construction as last year's Droid Turbo 2. There's also a much larger 3500 mAh battery, but we'd have liked to see slightly longer life out of that component than the barely over 7 hours we got. All these extras add up to making the Moto Z Force Droid a hair under 7mm thick. Motorola phones enjoy among the lightest weight Android skins you'll find, and that's just as true with these new Moto Z models. Gesture controls we're familiar with from previous models are back, giving us convenient shortcuts to frequently accessed functions, and Moto Display makes it easy to check for pending notifications without even touching your phone. Performance is just what we'd expect from a Snapdragon 820 flagship, with strong frame rates and a buttery smooth UI. Extra software touches like pervasive landscape orientation support also make both Moto Zs a little more flexible to use than some of their peers. As shouldn't be too surprising, there's more than a bit of bloat, but the third-party apps don't complain too much about being uninstalled, though we can't say the same for Verizon's own software. The screens on both phones look good, and especially when in auto brightness mode, they've got the output to compete with bright sunlight. Color accuracy's good if a little cool, and while things look good head-on, color distortion creeps in at extreme angles. Sound output is satisfying, but the lack of a headphone jack is a bit of a sore point. You're going to have to use the included USB Type-C adapter to attach a pair of wired headphones. It may be the way of the world, we know, but it's going to take some adjusting all the same. And while we get how the Moto Z Droid is so thin that the headphones might have been impractical, why not bring the jack back for the much thicker Moto Z Force Droid? Recharging over USB Type-C was particularly speedy with Motorola's included turbo power adapters, and on the super thin Moto Z Droid, a full charge can be had in barely over an hour. Though there's the unfortunate design decision of hardwiring the USB cable in place. That also means that the phones ship without a usable USB data cable, potentially making getting files on and off the phones a little less convenient. While you'll get quite a few extra megapixels with the Moto Z Force Droid's camera, performance didn't differ all that much between the handsets, and even the 13-megapixel shooter on the Moto Z Droid captured plenty of sharp, well-exposed photos. The camera software on each phone is well done and intuitive, and we especially liked seeing all the manual control options. Both phones support video recording extending up to 4K, and while neither handset choked on that high-res video, the 21-megapixel sensor on the Moto Z Force Droid seemed to produce some sharper-looking output. No matter how we shot though, compression artifacts could be spotted eating into video quality. Right now, we've got a couple solidly made Android flagships, and one with a frame so thin it's bound to attract attention on its own. Stop us here, and we've already got some easy-to-recommend handsets. But then there's this modular business. Moto Mods accessories pop on the back of either Moto Z phone with the help of some very strong magnets embedded in the accessories themselves, and connect with the phone through an array of pogo pin contacts. The magnets are sufficient to hold even the bulkier mods steadily in place, and a groove at the bottom of each makes them easy to pry off. When connecting a Moto Mod, the smartphone software immediately recognizes the attachment, notifying you of its presence and presenting first-time users with a convenient introductory slideshow. We took a look at 3 Moto Mods launching alongside the Moto Z Droid and Moto Z Force Droid: the Moto InstaShare projector, JBL Sound Boost speaker, and PowerPack extended batteries. The InstaShare projector allows you to share your phone's screen on any nearby wall and makes things like watching videos a lot of fun. It's got auto keystone correction, a manual focus wheel, and software adjustable brightness. There's an internal battery for up to an hour of operation and a built-in stand to get your video pointing where you need it. With a 50 lumen output, you're definitely going to want a dimmed, if not outright dark room in which to use the projector, as well as a light colored wall. That adds up to limiting its use a little, but it's still a really neat experience getting to see your smartphone on the big screen. The other big limiting factor is its price, as the projector will sell for nearly $300. The JBL Sound Boost speaker also has its own battery, good for about 10 hours of playback, as well as its own kickstand. The pair of 3-watt speakers deliver a solid upgrade over the phone's own audio output, and while the unit is the thickest Moto mod we gotta check out, we can appreciate how it's a little more convenient than carrying around a separate Bluetooth speaker. It also functions as an extra loud speakerphone and will sell for $80. A variety of power pack options are coming to let you extend either of these Moto Z's batteries, delivering up to 2200 mAh of extra juice. They recharge directly through the phones themselves, though we prefer an option to charge them on their own, and keep the handset's battery topped off until their own charge depletes. Pricing ranges between $60 and $90. If you don't want to add extra abilities to your Moto Z Droid, you can always attach a style shell back panel to the magnetic mount. One comes in the phone's box, and extras can be purchased in a variety of color and finish options. While the ones we checked out looked nice and didn't add much thickness, they had a little bit of wiggle to them, not enough to fall off, but making them feel a little less secure than a typical case or removable back panel. And when you do go to take one off, the absence of any release groove makes removing them more difficult than it should be. That's a good number of modular accessories to start a new ecosystem with, and Lenovo's optimistic that more are coming soon. And with plans to continue supporting the same Moto mod system on future handsets, you can at least rest easy in knowing that the modules you pick up today will find extended life on your next phone. For users investing in multiple mods, Verizon's selling a convenient carrying case, which also makes a nice way to carry additional smartphones if it happens to also be your thing. The combination of powerful, attractive flagship phones and really well-executed modular hardware is a tough one to beat. None of this is a guarantee that Moto mods will be a slam dunk, but Lenovo's really set itself up for success here. Now it just remains to be seen what future Moto mods options arrive, and if customers are willing to pay the sometimes high prices being asked. Pre-orders for both the Moto Z Droid and a Moto Z Force Droid open today, with pricing at $624 and $720 respectively. Both phones arrive in 1 week on July 28th, and that's the same day that sales of Moto Mod's accessories begin. Modular smartphone hardware is not going to be for everyone, but if you're in the least bit curious to see what this brave new world looks like, the Moto Z Droid and Moto Mod's family is easily your best bet for checking it out. I'm Steven Shank with PhoneArena. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the hot new smartphone action on the way.